In this video, we're going to work on balancing chemical equations. There are some symbols you will find in a chemical equation. You have a plus sign that separates two reactants or two products. You have a yield sign that separates the reactants from the products. Sometimes you have a double arrow, and that tells you the reaction can go both ways. Sometimes you will see an S in parentheses, like a subscript. That means that the formula that it follows is a solid. So here's an example. Fe, little s, that means this is iron solid. Here's Fe2O3, iron oxide. That means this is a solid. L means it's a liquid, so we would write that after H2O. G means it's a gas, so we would write it after oxygen because we know oxygen's a gas. AQ means aqueous, solution, something that is dissolved in water. So H2O2, which is peroxide, is an aqueous solution. Sometimes you will see a triangle or the word heat. This means that heat is needed to make the reaction go forward. Let's get started on our first equation. We have it right here. KClO3 yields KCl and O2. So the first thing we do is what we practiced last week. We write each element we see on this side, and then we copy and paste it to the product side. Now we're going to count. We have 1 K, 1 Cl, and 3 oxygen. The count on this side is just for the products. So I see 1 K, 1 Cl, and 2 oxygen. So the idea is to get these numbers to match all the way down. Well, my K's already are both at 1, my Cl's are both at 1, but my oxygen, I have 3 over here and 2 over here. Well, I know that 3 and 2 are multiples of 6. So I can multiply this side by a 2 and this side by a 3, and hopefully I will balance. So let's start by multiplying this 3 by a 2. Now I have to recount everything that 2 is in front of. So now I have 2 Ks, 2 Cls, and 6 oxygens. Okay, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to multiply the oxygen by 3 to balance the oxygen. So recount, that makes it a 6. Do not multiply this number times whatever number's down here. Always go up here and pretend it's a brand new count and count up here. So let's look at this. Now we're no longer balanced. Now we have 226 and 116. How can we fix that? Well, if we write a 2 here and recount, now we have a 2 here and a 2 here. We have the same numbers all the way through, and they are balanced. Okay, let's try the next one. We have H2O plus CO2 yields C6, H12O6, and O2. These little lines here I just drew there for you to know where to put the number that you are multiplying by. All right, so the first thing we do is just like we did last week. We find the elements. We have hydrogen, carbon, oxygen on this side. So we cut and paste that over here. Now we're going to count. I see 2 hydrogen, I see 1 carbon, and I see 2 oxygen plus 1, so that's 3. Let's go over and count this side. I see 6 carbon, 12 hydrogen, and I have 6 plus 2, I have 8 oxygen. All right, so after years of practice, unless I have to, I never start by trying to balance the hydrogen and the oxygen. I always start with a different element. So in this case, I'm going to start with the carbon. There's 6 carbon on this side, so I'm going to multiply the carbon on this side by 6. So I'm going to go up here, 6. Now I have to recount. So now I have 6 carbon, I have 12 oxygen plus 1, that's 13 over here. All right. Now I don't want to deal with 13 and 8 oxygen right now. So I'm going to notice that this and this have a common multiple of 6. So I am going to go over here and multiply this by 6 and recount. Now I have 12, I have 6 oxygen plus 12 oxygen, 6 plus 12 is 18. So now I have my hydrogens balanced, my carbons balanced, and I have to get my oxygen balanced. Well, I already have 6, that means I need 12 more to reach 18, and if I multiply this by a 6 and recount, they are now balanced. So you should recognize this as photosynthesis, which is why we put the 6, the 6, and the 6 in front of those numbers when we write the equation. Okay, let's do this one. I see carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, so I'm going to copy it to the next side. And I'm going to count. I have 3 carbon, 8 hydrogen, 2 oxygen on this side. I'll go over here. I have 2 hydrogen, 1 carbon, I have 3 oxygen. Once again, I don't want to start with hydrogen and oxygen. I'm going to start with carbon. So I have a 3 over here, I need 3 carbon over here. So I'm going to put a 3 in front of this and recount. Now I have 3, this is 6, 7 oxygen. All right, next I'm going to go to hydrogen. I can see that if I want to get this to be 8, I'm going to multiply it by 4. So I'm going up here, put a 4 in. This makes this 8. So now I have 3, 8, and 7. Oops, no I don't. I forgot to recount the oxygen. So now I have 4 oxygen plus 6 oxygen, that makes 10 oxygen. So how can I get 10 oxygen over here? By putting a 5 right here and recounting. And it is now balanced. So I don't have any number in front of this. Well, it's just like in math, there's a 1 there. When there's just a 1, you don't have to write it. All right, let's do this one. This one's a more challenging one. I've already got the elements listed, so I'm going to copy and paste them over here. And now I'm going to count. I have 1 silver, 1 nitrogen, 3 oxygen, 2 hydrogen, 1 sulfur. I'm going to count on this side. 2, 1, 1, 1, 3. All right, so there's my numbers. I'm going to start with balancing silver. I have 2 on the right, so I need 2 on the left. So I'm going to write a 2 here and recount all of these. Okay, now I see that I've messed up my nitrogen over here, so I'm wanting 2 nitrogens. So I'm going to put a 2 in front of here and recount. So that gives me 2 hydrogen, 2 nitrogen, and 6 oxygen. Oh, look at that, it's balanced. There would be a 1 right here and a 1 right here. So if you want to check to see if you're right, just go back through and do the math. I have 2 silver here. I have 2 silver here. I have 2 nitrogen. Yep, 2 nitrogen. 6 oxygen. 6 oxygen. 2 hydrogen. 2 hydrogen. 1 sulfur. 1 sulfur. Last example. This one has 2 sets of polyatomic ions in it, hydroxide and phosphate. All right, so copy. We have 1 zinc. We have 2 oxygen plus 4 oxygen, so that's 6 oxygen. We have 2 hydrogen plus 3 hydrogen, that's 5 hydrogen, and only 1 phosphorus. Let's count on this side. We have 3 zinc, we have 2 phosphorus, 8, 9 oxygen, and 2 hydrogen. Okay, I think I will start by balancing the zincs over here. So we have 3 on this side, we need 3 up here, and we need to recount. It's 3, so we have 2 oxygen times 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10. We have 2 hydrogen times 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Okay, so let's balance the phosphorus next. We have 2 on this side, 1 on this side, so I'm going to write a 2 up here. And I have to recount. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 6 is 12 hydrogen, 2 phosphorus. We have 4 times 2 is 8, plus 6 is 14 oxygen. All right, so I have 12 hydrogen on this side and only 2 on this side. So I need to get hydrogen up to 12, which tells me if I put a 6 here and recount, I now have 12 over here. I now have 2 times 4 is 8, plus 6 is 14 here, and it balanced. So our numbers in front are 3, 2, 1, 6. I will post homework.